Hey everybody, Jason Barnaby, and I am a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
Yes, y'all. You know what time it is. It's time for another ResultsLeader.fm interview. I am stoked that you guys are back. And as always, I have another dynamite interview for you today. This guy used to be a ski bum, even though we didn't talk about it on the show. He is a fire starter, not literally like a pyromaniac, but he does run the Firestarter tribe on Facebook and IG. He is an author and a speaker, and he helps people ignite the fire within. Let's jump into the interview with Jason Barnaby. Jason, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
I'm great, Jonathan. Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, you know what? I want to compliment you. Not everybody shows up with a mic sounding sexy, so thank you for that.
I was on a what's the word I'm looking for? A virtual conference right when COVID hit, and there were 8 speakers from all over the world, literally from like Japan to England to the States. And only 2 of the people that were presenting had professional sounding microphones. And as soon as I heard the difference, I'm like, it's time to go get a mic. So,
well, I'm grateful to be benefiting from that. And so are the listeners. So let's jump in, man. Jason, what book or books have you given most as a gift?
I would say there are 2: Tribes by Seth Godin and The Millionaire Messenger by Brendan Burchard.
All right. And
my own.
And your own. Well, of course, we got to give away our books. So I have read Tribes. That's a classic. Tell me a little bit, just why do you give away The Millionaire Messenger? That's one that I haven't read yet.
I am sort of connected. The lady that I hired to help me figure out my framework for my business was actually Brendan's COO for several years. And so she has seen the magic from every aspect. And the thing that I love about it is he is really very specific about his story. In fact, I literally have it sitting it's right next to me. It's just always very close. But the thing I love the most is at the end of every chapter, or sometimes just as a section of a chapter, he has, I think he calls them expert signposts, and he just says, basically stop and answer these questions. And I find, for me, with what I do, I call it actionable inspiration. And I think that, I was really turned on to that through Brendan, because he says, here's what I just told you. Now, what are you going to do? Answer these questions that will help. Now this is no longer theory. We're making this real. And it kind of demystifies some of it. I think sometimes people are so overwhelmed by this process in their head. And he's just answer these 3 questions. And then those will help you do this next part. And then answer these 4 questions. And he does that. I don't know how many questions there are throughout the book, probably close to 70 or 80 questions. And they're great questions that I ask my clients as well when I work with them. Some of them are.
All right. Well, now that it's on my reading list, I appreciate it, brother. So let's go back into your history and tell the listeners how an apparent failure has set you up for later success.
Oh man. Well, I got to go way back to the first failure. And the first failure was I got married. This was not the failure, so I don't want it to come across this way, but I got married to a Polish woman, and we lived in her country for 8 years together. And the first year of marriage, we decided it'd be a really good idea. New culture, new marriage, new life, new language. What could make that better but opening a small business in a post-communistic country? That's just sounded like a phenomenal idea. So we ran a coffee shop for a year, and by all metrics, it was a complete disaster. I don't think we made a dime. We lost a lot of dimes, or grosze or złoty, which is the Polish currency. We lost a lot of those. But we learned in that process when we closed it up, you know what? We learned a ton out of this, and we failed, in economic ways. We failed, but I think the biggest success of that was that we realized that failure was an event. It's not a defining characteristic. And so I think once when you read about some of the greatest people who've done amazing things in business and in life, they've failed multiple times. And so you realize that failure is not defining you. Yeah, I failed. I'm probably going to fail more. In fact, I failed several times through COVID, but the perceived failure of losing my job was eliminated after almost 10 years in the corporate world. And, man, that was tough. It's tough when you get the metaphor that I use, the way I describe it is I felt like I'd been thrown off the mothership, that I thought that I used to help guide and direct. And in some ways I did. But it was kind of like you got thrown off the ship with a squeaky life raft that may have had holes in it or not. And nobody really stopped to see if you sank or swim or if the life raft worked. They just kind of kept going. And so for me, I took the gift of severance, and that's really what I call it. It was a gift. For 6 months. I got paid my same salary and I had benefits, and that gave me an opportunity to have a couple hundred coffee meetings with people to tell them what I was doing. I'd been planning this thing for like 20 years, and I'm like, well, I guess it's time to go do it. And I finished my first book and turned that into, that supposed failure into a business that I've now steered through a pandemic. I had my best month ever financially in my entire life in December of 2020. At the height of some of that pandemic stuff. And so I'm sure a lot of people were like, oh, you lost you're a loser. You lost your job. If you would have been a great success, they would have kept your job and they would have probably promoted you. But that was actually the launching pad for me to get busy doing what I've been dreaming about for a lot of my life.
Man, and congratulations. And I want to make a note to our writer and audio engineer. He said failure is an event, not a defining characteristic. We need that as a quotable because that is money right there. I love it. So let's talk about investments, Jason. What would you say is the most worthwhile investment you have ever made?
Oh man, honestly, and I'm not happy that it's taken me this long to say this. I'm happy that I finally made it. And that is, I started seeing a therapist last year in October for the first time ever in my life. And, oh my gosh, the dividends that has paid. And it wasn't, and here's the thing, that if somebody is listening who's been thinking about this was not like my life was teetering on the balance and I was way off the rails and felt like I needed something to get back. It was just like, I've got some things I haven't worked on the way that I should. And I need somebody else to help me work through that, help me with some tools, keep me accountable. Still seeing him today. And by far the best, I just turned 50 actually last Monday. And I have told anybody in fact, I just posted yesterday a post that said, I feel more comfortable in my skin at 50 than I've ever felt in my life. And I've done a lot of work up into that, but the best investment was investing in me, my mental health, resting, taking care of me. You can't, I've got a cup that's here. If it's empty, I can shake this thing all day. Nothing's coming out of it. Right. Like there's nothing there. You got to have your cup has to be full so you can pour out to other people. And so I would definitely say that that's been the best investment I've ever made.
The odd part is you're not the only person that said therapist for that question. So apparently there's a theme here. Cool, man. So in the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
So I would say it was about 2.5 years ago. I had a friend of mine. I was at a place where I had very much a scarcity mentality. If you were looking at me holding on to things, my fists were clenched tightly. And I had somebody tell me, well, I actually had two people. One said, Jason, like the scarcity mentality that you're putting out into the world is very clear. You're coming from a place of desperation, and that attracts desperation. And I didn't really 100% understand what they were saying, but I took it. I'm like, okay, I get that. And then I had another friend who said something along those lines. And he said, you can't give or receive anything when your fists are clenched. Like you can't receive anything that people are trying to give you, and you can't give anything away. And, counterintuitive to a lot of what the business world tells you to do. I had a course already, and I created a course and gave it away for free. It's really like the 5 things that I use with every one of my clients. And I do think that they have the potential to change your life if you really dig into them. And so I gave that away. I put it out on all the social media platforms. I do it now every year around the new year. It's called Ignite Your New Year. I'm sure a lot of people think it's a gimmick. I'm not smart enough yet to have funnels and figure out how all that stuff works. So, I mean, yeah, I get your email address, you go on my list and those kinds of things. But what that has actually challenged me to do, as you can tell, looking at my hands, I'm not double jointed. I've never been that, but I am looking for a way to like, how can I pry my hands more open so that more comes out, and just really hold all of that loosely and know that if my intent is to make a difference and not to make a dollar, there's a difference that happens from that intent, I believe.
That is powerful. Yeah, that is powerful. So I think you kind of mentioned it, and I'm asking because I find it super interesting. And I heard that from somebody once, and it was shocking to me. How did you take it when they told you that you were in that scarcity mindset?
I was like, are you stupid? Like, have you seen my bank balance? Like, this makes no sense. I know other people that are selling a course similar to this for several $100s. Why in the world would I give this away? And I don't think that I said that out loud. I was screaming it in my head, but I've learned in my life that when I get those sorts of messages, when those sorts of things come to me and they don't go away, and these didn't go away. I mean, I did definitely realize that I had a scarcity mentality, and it was smacking of desperation. And then when he said that to me, it just popped back up in my mind and in my spirit for several days. And I was like, okay, you need to listen. And I'm telling you, the transformation that happened mentally, I mean, from top to bottom, and the responses that I got from people that have gone through the course have overwhelmed me. So yeah, I mean, I didn't want to do it. I was like, well, this is a dumb idea. Like I'm quite sure that there is no business book in an MBA program that would tell you to give things away. I don't have an MBA, but I would guess that is, that's fairly counterintuitive. But the growth that I saw, the growth in my network, the growth then also from connections, I couldn't have planned that. I mean, and the growth that came organically from simply giving it away and the connections that came from that.
Awesome, man. So let's move on to recommendations. And in particular, what are some of the bad recommendations you hear in your area of expertise?
Man, that could be a whole podcast in itself. Honestly, there's so many bad ones. I'll take this back first to folks who may be in a corporate role. In fact, I just posted something today. I heard TD Jake speak at a leadership conference a couple of years ago. Well, about 5 years ago now, and he said, "If you are a leader, whose permission are you waiting for to lead?" And one of the recommendations that I hear that I disagree with is to wait your time, because I mean, I think 2020 has been a great lesson for all of us. At least I hope it has, that we get one shot, and there's a lot of things that come along that are unexpected. I've said goodbye to a couple of my friends in 2020 that passed away. And every time I get the message, it's the same. Hey, Jason, don't know if you saw or heard or whatever, but so-and-so passed away. And the last word is always the same: unexpectedly. I mean, even when they were sick, right? It was like, we thought they had another week, or we thought they had another day or whatever, so like, just, sort of bide your time and stay there. No, life is too short for that. And if you really feel a deep desire to do something in life, go do it. And all the things that come, well, what about, but somebody over there is already doing that, or somebody, I mean, how many people have been pitched a business idea and they go, well, somebody else is already doing that. Yeah, well, last time I checked, there's several pizza places that are pretty successful. There are several burger places that are successful. There are several massage places that are successful. I mean, do it the way that you want to do it, the way that you have the vision for. That would definitely be one. And then the other one, and I know people are going to disagree with this, not doing this as a spokesperson for StrengthsFinder, but don't work in your weaknesses. Pay attention to them, be aware of them, make sure that you have safety nets for those things. But I had a boss who did a 360 feedback loop for me, and I was beating myself up because she, had brought up some of these things that I knew I had failed at over the last year. And I'm like, I'll get better at those, and she's like, I don't want you to get better at those. I want to build a team around you who can help fill in those gaps and be the strengths where you're weak. She said, I want you to be working 100% in those strengths because you can get up on a stage. You are incredibly creative on the spot. And she said, we don't have people on the team that do that. You do. And I want you doing more of that. And so I think I would say that. And then one last one is, don't be afraid of your strengths. I think a lot of us, especially here in the Midwest, we've got this kind of aw shucks mentality, like, I'm just made that. That's just what I do. I just put my head down and I just go to, it's like the way that I explain the phrase that I use is I show up with humble expectation. Like, I'm humble about my gifts. I don't feel like I stick my chest out, but I also show up with expectation that I'm being called to that place for such a time as that, to use the gifts that I've been given. And my name is the one that's on the program. My name is the one that's on the contract. I'm the guy that they asked to come in. And so I'm walking in there knowing that I'm there to make a difference and to use the gifts and the talents and the abilities that I've been asked to put forward. And, I had a really good friend of mine who told me, he said, Jason, if you don't step out and lead, other people can't follow you. And I don't know if you've ever crossed, I used to do this all the time, cross a street, like on a one-way street when there's no traffic coming, but the light says don't walk, right? And so, I'd get up to the thing and yes, the light says don't walk. Okay. So you're technically jaywalking, whatever. But like, I'll look down the street and if there's no cars coming for like 2 blocks, why am I going to wait for another 30 seconds? I got places to go and things to do. So I'll start walking across the street. Almost every single time that I did that and turned around, there were at least 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 people following me. Why? Because maybe they thought, well, maybe he'll get hit by the bus first if there's one coming, but I'm also not stepping out on the road when there's a bus coming. People want to follow, but you got to step out and lead in order to give them that opportunity.
Wow. That is awesome. All right. I know you were getting into that, and we were just about to get into my favorite part where we talk about results. But first, I want to ask you a question. Are you picking up what we're laying down on this show? Are you digging what we are sharing? If you are, why not make yourself a hero today and share this with somebody who can use it? Put this out on your social media channels. #ResultsLeaderFM. I'll be out there looking for you, and I'll make sure to boost it up too when I see you. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's jump back into the interview. So let's move to results.
Yeah.
Jason, why do results matter?
Oh man, because if you don't have results, how do you know you've been successful? If you don't have results, how do you know that you've moved the needle? How do you know that things are different from when you started to kick things off? I have a program called 30 Days to Blaze. And one of the things that I ask people is, when you're done with this, what does success look like for you? Does it mean that you did all 30 days and you didn't skip any? Does it mean that you got comfortable being uncomfortable, which is one of my taglines? Does it mean that you made some action plans and succeeded in those? Does it mean you got some feedback that you started to make some changes on? Like, what does that mean for you? And I'm amazed, Jonathan, when I get hired by clients who are willing to pay me a fair amount of money, especially when I was doing keynotes more often around the country. I would say, what does success look like for you? What do you want this to look like? And they had no idea. And some follow-up questions that I use after that is, when this is over, what do you want your people thinking, saying, believing, and doing as a result of our time together? And again, deer in the headlights oftentimes. Some people were like, ooh, great question. We want them to do bam, 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 which is great for me as a consultant coming in, because I can say like, okay, I know exactly how to build the program. I know exactly what you're looking at. But then we're also like, I think results are important because you're setting expectations. I mean, think about if you were given a project and your boss said, this is the thing that we're going to measure. And then you work really hard to get there. And then you get to the end and they go, just kidding. We actually are measuring this thing, which you didn't pay attention to at all. So you didn't move the needle. It's like, but wait, so it provides a focus. It provides a goal. Everybody's on the same page. It provides expectations. And it also helps us know, like, did this 6 months that we spend on this thing, did it make a difference? And if the answer is yes, you should be able to say it made a difference in bam, A, B, and C. And if you're not paying attention to results, I mean, there's that phrase, aim for nothing, you'll hit it every time. You could be successful. Like, yeah, we hit it. Well, was that what you were aiming at? Well, no, but we feel pretty good about it. It's like, what's the point of that?
That's awesome, man. So let's think back. In the last 5 years, what new realization has helped you get better results for your clients?
I knew this, but being brave enough to say it and put some things in practice to help it is that people are genuinely afraid of the unknown. And I am typically brought into a company with a group to move them into uncharted waters, into places that they don't necessarily want to deal with. It's amazing to me. I'll go in and do some work and I'll say, hey, were you aware of, these 3 things? And they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, well, have you done anything about those things? No, we don't want to deal with those things. And so because it's that fear of, I think Jack Canfield says it best. He's got a great quote. He says, everything you want is on the other side of fear. And my goal in what I do is to get people to that other side. And sometimes it is, I don't know if you're old enough to remember the show, the movie, What About Bob, but baby steps, right? Like baby step to, like, sometimes they're really, really small steps, but those really small steps eventually add up to really big steps. So I think like I talked about before, knowing that I have those gifts and abilities and those talents, going in and realizing that that's why I'm there. And I need to say the thing that everybody in the room is afraid to say. Because if I don't say it, we're not going to get results. We're not going to move. And everybody in the room almost everybody in the room most of the time is thinking that somebody's got to say this. But so I've just been that guy. I'm like, people say, oh, it was so great working with you. And I'm like, well, all I do is say the thing that nobody else wants to say. And I think every organization, every team has a list of those things that people don't want to say or people don't want to deal with. And so that's why I come in and start lighting fires under that stuff.
Powerful, man. So let's turn this on you here. What area of your business would you like better results?
Well, the blessing and the curse of a solopreneur is that you get to do whatever you want. Right? Like, you get to do whatever you want. I could get, like, today I could go work on only sales stuff. Tomorrow I could only go work on content. I think for me, and I definitely, I tell people that the dog in the movie Up is my spirit animal, because he's squirrel, just shiny object syndrome, call it what you will. I'm fairly certain I have ADHD. I've never been diagnosed, but I mean, anybody who knows me is like, yeah, you do. You should probably be the poster child. I would say for me, some of that, because I don't necessarily work in my weaknesses, but I'm one person and I'm kind of grinding it out. And it's hard for people, I think, like me, to make those investments in those weaknesses. So it's like, can I do it? Yeah. How much would I have to pay somebody to do it? Is it worth it? Well, that's money that I could use for this thing over here. So I think getting to that place where you just realize, where you bite the bullet, on an investment like that. Like, I mean, I know that I need a virtual assistant, that it would help me. Part of it is like, I don't want people to see the mess behind. It's like, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain and the mess that he brings with him. So part of that is just being vulnerable enough to say, hey, look, I've got just a shit show behind this curtain. I really could use some help cleaning up, getting vulnerable. But I think overall, like, organization, because I think organization would help me, follow up with the people I need to follow up with, do the things that I need to do that are, most pressing, not the things that I love to do most. Because I do find that I will Like, I don't want to go do that thing today. That thing sucks. I want to go do this thing over here because that's going to be a lot more fun, which I've found. And everybody who, is in a similar situation to mine knows exactly how this is. That thing that sucks just gets more sucky if you leave it alone. So better, I think there's the book, Eat the Frog, right? The first thing in the morning, like do the thing that you don't like to do. And all the other things become so much easier after that. So
that's awesome, man. So let's end on a positive note. What results are you most proud of?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably going to get emotional because I have a couple of times as I've done this. I'll tell you two, actually. One is the former company that let me go, hired me back this year to speak, not the whole company, a piece of the company. So it wasn't like I was coming back in the front door. It's kind of like a side entrance, it was fine with me to get a check written to my company's name from my former company. I actually have it hanging right above my computer and I can see it, and it feels really good to look at that. So to bring those things full circle. And then the other thing, Jonathan, is just the people that I'm a curriculum designer by nature. I have a master's degree in teaching English as a foreign language. And so when I wrote this program, 30 Days to Blaze, I knew it was good. I really did, because that's what I do. Like, I've written programs. I know that this was good. But to see every single time that a group goes through it, I have at least a couple of people who come back. And this was actually a lady who looked me up. She was the first person ever to sign up for something on my website. So she went to the website and scheduled a call, which I was pretty proud of that. I was like, wow, it's actually working. This is cool. But she said, I've been a Firestarter stalker for 3 years, but don't worry, not in a creepy way, like in a cool way. And whenever you hear that, you're like, okay, let's define creepy first, and then we'll decide if it was or not. And so we finally had a Zoom call last week, and what she said, and her story blew my mind, because her story and my story were so similar. She was in a company for several years, was literally told that she was too much, even though she was doing the things that the company had asked her to do. She was literally told, like, stay in your lane. Don't, yes, we want you to do this, but tamp it down. Don't, all the very similar things to what I was said. So this is what she told me, and I wrote it down because it just blows my mind. She said, I devoured your book in one plane ride. You were the match, Jason. Literally, your content changed everything for me. I have literally been on fire for the last couple of years, putting myself out there and doing it afraid, which I talk about a lot. Keep doing what you're doing. It's making an impact. And when somebody uses your language back to you about being the match and being on fire, I was like, I'm done. Does it get any better than that? Because, I have a good friend who's in sales training, and we've done several events together, and we work together, we partner together. And one of his favorite phrases is, it wasn't a thing until it was, and now it is. And the phrasing that I use, the logo that I have, the brand that I've created wasn't a thing until it is now. And to have somebody else say it back to me, this is how deep it goes. I'm branded. I have a tattoo of a flame on my arm. You can't separate me from what the brand is. And to have somebody else say that back to me and to realize the impact that it's had, that's the pinnacle for me.
Dude, I love it. That is so, so, so powerful, man. As we're wrapping up, a couple things that I want to do here is, number one, and we're going to link to you in the show notes and all that, but for those listening, where can listeners go find out more about you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So my website is firestarterstribe.com. It's kind of a static place, but you can see some of the offerings that are there. If you really want to see my content and interact with me and what I do, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So just search me at Jason Barnaby. My Instagram profile name is Firestarters Tribe. I put a lot of things there as well. And I've started something recently that I think is, I'm trying it out, but I bought a texting number. So people could text me. It's 317-342-7344. Shoot a question, shoot a response. Hey, and it's not one of those things where I'm like, oh, you texted me, now let's figure out how to make money out of this. I mean, I've been in a place where I didn't have any money and I didn't feel like I had any resources. And so that's really one of the reasons I want to put this out there, especially during COVID. We need somebody just to say, hey, man, you can do this. Or, hey, girl, keep going, And that's what I want to do. So if somebody's looking for that, I would love for you to shoot me a text message. And it is me. It's not some like bot who's off in the basement somewhere, like with 3,000 pre-programmed responses. It's me.
Say the number one more time.
317-342-7344.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Any parting thoughts?
I have a shirt that says, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Nothing's going to happen in your comfort zone except more comfort. And if you want things to be different, you have to do things differently than you've done them before. I mean, Einstein talked about that with the definition of insanity. But get a tribe of people around you who will help you get comfortable being uncomfortable in the most loving and supportive way. And that will change absolutely everything.
What a dynamite interview. Jason, Barnaby, gang, all the links will be in the show notes. Dude, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for bringing the fire. Thank you for being a part of our mission here, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
That is a wrap for another edition of ResultsLeader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to ResultsLeader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard.
This is the podcastfactory.com.
Hey everybody, Jason Barnaby from Indianapolis, Indiana, hoping we can all just sing along during this time that we're all stuck at home. Sing it with me if you know it. Hey there, Corona, what's it like in New York City? I'm 1,000 miles away, my town shut down and I am quarantined at home. No squares to spare and all alone, so much unknown. Hey there, Corona, we use terms like social distance from mainland China to the US. Finally gotten our attention, man, this sucks. Lots of people asking what the down on our love. Oh, it's what you do to me. Oh, it's what you do to me. Oh, it's what you do to me. Oh, you raise my anxiety. Hey there, Corona, we've lost loved ones 'cause you're spreading masks and gloves, hand sanitizer. Where the hell is this world heading? Can we all join up together, one for all? Let's make the call. Hey there, Corona, it's gloom and doom all over social, but let us learn to overcome it as we check in on each other, spread the love. 6 feet apart, don't push and shove, just spread the love. Oh, it's what you do to me. Raise my anxiety. Oh, it's what you do to me. Oh, it makes me wanna sneeze. Around the world you've traveled far, in planes and trains and boats and cars, and I'd walk the block, but I am quarantined. You've ruined all our spring break plans, Olympics, graduation, and March Madness. Stuck at home, we wanna scream. Corona, I can promise you that by the time that we beat you, the world will never ever be the same. You're to blame. Hey there, Corona, I've got to log into a Zoom call while my kids complete e-learning. You know I'd like to keep on earning like I do, but it seems I can't and I blame you. Hey there, Corona, I blame you. Yes, I blame you. Sing it with me. Oh, it's what you do to me. You raise my anxiety. Oh, it's what you do to me. Oh, you make me want to sneeze. I hope that I don't sneeze. Oh, I hope that I don't sneeze. I hope that I don't sneeze. We can do hard things, everybody.